When we think about witch trials, we tend to think about those that occurred in Salem in the 17th century. And while those were obviously horrendous, 24 people died. But what a lot of people don't know is that actually in Europe, 50,000 people died during the early modern witch trials, and 1,000 of those were in England. Something else that's worth thinking about, of those 50,000 people that died, 85% of those were women. If you watch some of my previous videos, we looked at how the cunning folks, the people that were actually doing the magic, was roughly 50-50, with 50% of them being men and 50% being women. This wasn't about women who were actually doing magic. This is about women who were being accused because somebody didn't like them, or they had something to gain by pointing the finger and saying that person is a witch. Two things in particular were important to driving up these numbers of the witch trials. The first one you definitely will have heard of was the Malleus Maleficarum, which was the hammer of witches. That was first written in 1486, so right at the start of the Tudor period. It was written in Germany, and it was essentially a manual written by Heinrich Kramer. Now, he initially had been ranting about witches and was actually expelled from his own city as being crazy. So this book that he wrote as a way of catching witches was possibly a bit of a revenge tactic, some historians have said. And this laid out methods for finding witches that he hoped magistrates would take up. And had horrible implications for sort of violent methods of finding witches. Another thing that happened was in 1532, Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor at the time, put forth this piece of legislation called the Carolina, which essentially said if there's any evidence of witchcraft, could just be a rumour, you are free to use torture to extract a confession. And that's when we see all these, again, methods written about in the Malleus Maleficarum, as well as other things used to extract confessions. So through these two things and various other things which I'll come to in further videos, we end up with 50,000 people across Europe being killed for witchcraft, 1,000 of those being in England.